Salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to Saturday's second bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to Saturday's second bonus, shall we? This bonus gets us that much closer to Saturday Nightmares live from upstate New York. That is our live stream, 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do hope to see you all there. Was done 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, on a Saturday, just like today, and on a Saturday night, myself, a friend of the channel, a friend of mine, who is no longer with us and has been gone for quite some time now, but he was a wealth of knowledge and information. And like I said, people ask, when is his book coming out? Where is his book? He couldn't do his own book, so I finished it. Then I was forced to take 2 chapters out, change the intro, and I did that. And now it sits in a publisher's office waiting to get published. When will that happen? I don't know. But until then, I will keep airing periodically old interviews and old Q&As where we put Victor on the spot, and he never once faltered nor changed his stories. All right, everybody. Talk's first caller is a subscriber named Rodney. Rodney, how are you?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to talking to Victor and excited about your call.
All right, thanks. I'm glad that I was able to get in touch with you. Well, I'm going to turn you over to Victor so he can answer your questions.
Okay. All right, Rodney, what you got for me tonight?
Well, I'm just I'm a fellow hunter. I've been hunting since I was 15. I'm in my 50s, so I've been at it a while, and I've had what I would now have come to put together as some experiences, and I'd like to know what your recommendation would be. If I have any personal encounters in the future while I'm out hunting, and I know just wanted to hear maybe some insight on that, and we'll go from there. Maybe.
Okay. Tell me what you've got for me.
Just as an example, I was hunting with my father, and I up in the distance heard what sounded like a Chevy truck blowing through the woods, and I could see what I now believe is to be a Bigfoot or Sasquatch way off in the distance, and he was making a big circle around us. My father saw him, and my best friend saw him as well, and we wanted to get out of the woods as quickly as possible. And I was just wondering what you would do if you were faced with a scenario like that, but you couldn't, if you, in other words, face to face and couldn't get out of the woods. How would you recommend moving forward? We're all standing there heavily armed and trying to decide what to do.
Well, if there's 3 of you and he's circling you, he's more curious than anything.
Right.
He's just seeing what you're all about. At that point, he's not going to show any aggression towards you. especially if he's keeping about the same distance. You know, you're not in any harm at that distance. I would have stayed and observed him as long as I could have, myself. Now, for somebody like yourself, I would have probably, the three of you, just stayed together and just slowly move back towards the vehicle or towards my camp and tried to watch and see if he followed. Now, if he tried to follow, I would have stopped, and y'all being in numbers, the right thing to have done would have been to stop and just stood there and tried to get him to lose interest in you and him walk off into a whole different direction.
Okay.
But if he's staying curious, you know, you've got to get out of the woods before dark. So,
right.
You know, you've got to get.
My initial concern was that I was 25 up in a climbing tree stand, 25 feet up. I was fine, but my father, who was in his mid-70s at the time, was on the ground about 100 yards away. And so my concern initially was to get out of the tree, gather up my stuff, and go with him, which is what I did, to make sure that, you know, he did see what was coming, and he obviously did, you know, by the time I got there. But I was more concerned about him. I wish I could have just stayed in the tree and watched, you know, but I felt concerned for my pops on the ground.
Yeah. Well, that was probably the right move on there to do, to get with him. And once y'all all three got together, y'all was, as long as it was just circling and not moving closer, and y'all had the light in your favor, y'all was pretty safe.
Well, we were about 2 miles from the truck, and it was about 4:30 in the afternoon, so we needed to get out of there.
Yeah.
If you wanted to be out there by dark, you know.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you needed to move out. That's right. So y'all did the right thing by getting out of there.
Do you think they can sense you coming in the woods? I know they can see you way longer than you see them, but do you think there's another perception, a level of perception that they have that we might not have, or that we might not be focused on to know that we're coming?
Yeah, they know. They know long before we know that they're there.
Right. I don't know if you know the area I was hunting at that time. Are you familiar with southeast Oklahoma?
Good bit.
you know the Onabi area, or Onabi, or however some people pronounce it differently.
Yeah, I've been there 3 or 4 times.
That's a very high density population for Bigfoot, isn't it?
It is.
Are you familiar with the Neshoba Valley right there?
Can't say that I've been to that certain location, no.
You know what Clayton, Oklahoma?
Clayton, I know.
Yeah, that's where that road splits off to go to Clayton. There's big Y right there to go to Onobi or to go to Clayton. That section in the middle, that woods, that's where I was.
Okay. Can't say that I've been right there,
right.
But I know about where you was.
Yeah. I'm living in southeast Texas now, in Sabine County. Do you know anything about that? And is there a lot of activity down this way?
What part of Texas?
I'm in southeast Texas. It's in Sabine County, Sabine.
S-I-B-N.
Yeah, S-A, like Apple, B-I-N-E, Sabine.
I can't tell you about what the Bigfoot's going on down there, but they have allowed me to keep my computer.
Okay.
So right now you have, which I normally tell you at the end of the show.
Oh yeah, I was just curious. Sorry.
It's pulling up. Well, you're evenly matched. You're 6 and 6. 6 dogmen and 6 werewolves. My
curiosity about the dogmen and the werewolves are do they have the same type of perception as a Bigfoot or Sasquatch as far as being able to tell when somebody's in the woods or not without a visual or anything like that?
The werewolves are very close to it, and the Dogman, they've got a sense of smell that's out of this world. They can probably know the second you step out of the car.
More so than a domestic dog, you think?
Yeah, way more.
Oh, okay.
Way more.
If I was to be face to face with a cryptid like that, and did not have the ability to back out, I mean, what's my lines of defense against that guy? Do I shoot or what would your? I know you say don't, but at some point, if it's life or death, you got to make a decision.
If you're armed and you've got the chance to just back out and keep your head down and not make eye contact, that's your best bet, especially if it's a Dogman. Because if there's one Dogman, there's going to be more than one.
Right.
And you might be looking at one, and there might be three to your left side that you don't ever see. And if you're concentrating on that one, them three's going to be the three to get you, not that one. But if you can hit it in the head, you can take it out with just about any high-powered rifle.
I normally carry a Savage 308 bolt lever action, and I think that might do the trick, but I don't know.
Yeah, that would do the trick. That would. I carry a 308 on the AR platform, but it's fully automatic.
Right.
That's what we carry. That's what we carry, except for for a Bigfoot, I carry larger.
Are you completely out of the game now? Are you completely?
I'm done. They called me 2 days after I retired and wanted me to go again, and I've got a broke wrist, and I told them no, and they got angry. So I'm out of the game.
Well, I tell you what, I really appreciate your service. I don't think a lot of people out there understand what's out there in the woods. I've been at it a long time, and I've seen things I can't understand or even comprehend. And the more I listen to you and other folks that have had more dealings than me, I realized I was probably closer to the cryptid than I ever thought I was. I do have one photograph. I just happened to snap a picture of a very nice scene that I liked a lot. And when I got home and looked at it on my computer, clearly I've got a picture of a Sasquatch standing in the trees looking at me, and it blew me away when I saw how close he was to me. Had no idea he was even there.
Yeah, didn't even know it, did you? Yeah, that's amazing how close they can get.
He was within 50 yards of me, and I had no clue.
Yeah. And like you said, you've been in the woods your entire life, haven't you?
Yes, sir. I have. And it was amazing because it wasn't until I blew up the picture because I just felt like something in the picture I wasn't seeing. So I took the time, I blew it up on my big screen, and then I just kind of inch by inch looked around until I could see what it was. And from the waist up, it's as clear as day. I've had several people look at it. Matter of fact, one of the guys from Texas A&M University, he was a professor of cryptozoology, and he looked at that and said it was one of the clearest pictures he'd seen. So I was really excited about that. Yeah.
Would you be willing to share it with us?
Of course I would.
Okay. Would you send it to Jeff, please?
I'll send it as an attachment as soon as we get off the phone.
Okay, I appreciate that, sir.
No problem. Hey, I don't want to take up your time. I was a little unprepared for your call, but I certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Well, Rodney, I thank you for your time, and, come back to the channel and stay with us.
I'll do it. I'll get that picture over to Jeff, and you guys have a great night. Thanks again for letting me on.
Rodney, I really appreciate it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great night.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, tonight our second subscriber call in with Victor is Vicki. Vicki, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for taking some time out of your evening to spend it with me and Victor. I'm going to turn you over to Victor right now.
Okay, great.
Hey, Vicki, what you got for me tonight?
Well, Well, I live in Tennessee, and we had a really bad experience back in '94, and where we don't live in that area anymore, thank goodness. We live close, and we drive through the area quite often, and but the area that we had where we lived. My father-in-law passed away that night, and my husband found him, and he was in a creek. And since we did I wrote in and gave Jeff my encounter and everything, or his encounter, my husband has talked more and more about the situation, and he said the other night that there were a bunch of holes dug in the ground, like a 1/16 of an acre. There was just a bunch of holes. And I said, what do you mean holes? Just like shallowed out like what a hog would do? And he said, no, these were like 3-foot diameter holes that would go down in the ground. And he said, I just kind of wondered if maybe that was something to do with those creatures that could have been there that night. And I said, well, I'm going to ask if I ever get the opportunity. And he said, but when we went back down there with the investigator, like 6 years later, the holes were all filled in. They were gone. And of course, once I talked with Jeff, and he had told me you guys had a call to go in that area on the Highway 152, that you had seen tracks. And I just kind of wondered, could these holes have been part of that, and maybe could they have been filled in after you guys had been there? Or
we have found holes where they dug them,
okay.
and they got down in them and slept because it was cooler.
Okay.
They'd get down in them in the daytime and sleep in them where it was more moist, and they would lay in them in the daytime and sleep. And they would do this along creeks and rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And, them being so big and all, but most of the time they was a little bigger than 3 foot. Most of the time they was about 5 foot diameter.
Yeah. Well, he's going on a memory, of course now.
Yeah, so they could have been bigger, and him, being distraught that night too.
Exactly. Well, he grew up in this area, and he told me about a memory of when he was a little kid. His dad took him hunting back there in these same woods, and he heard a scream. Of course, his mind, to justify the scream that he heard, of course, his dad left him at a tree, and then he went to a different tree, right, for squirrel hunting.
Yeah.
And he was justifying it as if it was a bobcat or something, which it still could have been a bobcat.
Yeah.
But he heard this, and he's 66 years old, and he was like 8 years old when this happened. Could these things have been back there all this time?
Oh, yes. Yes. He passed away 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Passed away at the age of 98, and he was in Tennessee. But he had a farm, and he can remember seeing them as a boy.
Mm-hmm.
When he was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And they stayed on that property his entire life.
Yeah.
Just
that was
really quick to
91
interject.
years.
That's long. All this
91
time.
years he can remember seeing them on this property. And he said they'd go away for 2 months. You wouldn't see them for about 2 months.
Uh-huh.
And then they'd be back for 2 or 3 months. They'd go away for a month, and they'd be back for 2 or 3 months. Said they never took nothing from the farm, never destroyed nothing at the farm.
Mm-hmm.
They said they always stayed on the back corner of their property.
Mm-hmm.
Said his dad would never go back there. Said he told the boys not to go back there. He was told not to go back there. When he took over the farm, he told his son not to go back there and hunt. And, they just left that back corner of the property alone. He said it's about 7, 8 acres. He said it's kind of swampy. And they just left that 7, 8 acres back there alone. And left it be. And said that's where they stayed. And he said when he died, '98. He had seen them about 3 weeks before he died.
Mm-hmm.
And I seen him about a week before he died. Well, I talked to him on my phone. And he told me that he'd seen them again.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't want us to do nothing about them. He never did complain about them. Somebody else had made a complaint about them. And we had went in there and we'd found tracks. And they hadn't killed anything. So at that time, nothing was done about them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was Bigfoot. So either they raised a family back in there and stayed in there. They had a cave system or something.
Uh-huh.
And they lived back in there. And that was their home.
Well, the night that he found his dad, he said that he heard, it was dark, it was windy. They went with just flashlights, looking. And of course, the spot is about a mile off the highway where the Cypress Creek dumps into the little Forked Deer River. And he said that he saw those two sets of large red eyes on the other side of the Forked Deer River. And they heard this buzzing sound that what drew them to stop and look around. And that's when he noticed the eyes. Now, this buzzing he said it was like an insect, but it was like no insect he had ever heard before. Could that have been like an infrasound or just some sort of thing to get his attention to stop? You're near the boat, or
very possibly. They could make all kinds of sounds.
Okay.
And they may have been drawing his attention where he would find the boat.
Yeah.
Well,
see, his dad spent so much time on the river and the creek and in the woods. And they, like I said, this has been back in what did I say, 94. And there's all times that we would go and his mom would call, go find your daddy. He's at such and such, supper's ready, and it'd be dark. And we go down there and he'd just be sitting beside the river, just sitting there, and I'm like, well, and he wasn't afraid of anything. He wasn't afraid of the dark. He wasn't. And so I always had this fantasy, I guess, thinking that they knew him and he knew them, and maybe they were watching over him until somebody could find him, because the creek and the river both had current. The boat was not tied off, and he was with the boat. He had wrapped the boat rope around his hand, and when they found him, it was still wrapped around his hand. But they were just there on the side of the creek. They didn't float off, and they should have. In all reality, he should have floated on down,
Yeah.
But he was right there.
Wow.
And then when they started paddling him out, after they got him in the boat, they tried to do CPR and all that, and he was gone, of course. And they had a paddle and they had a garden hoe in the boat. That's all they had to paddle with. And they started trying to paddle. And he said it felt like something was trying to jerk the paddle out of his hand, like he was hitting something. But he said he knew that couldn't be right, because that was 15 or 20 feet deep right there, because that's where his daddy used to drop his nets when he fished, when he was a commercial fisherman. And so could that have been more creatures? Because those eyes were still on the bank over there. So was this more creatures possibly? And were they, I don't know why, what were they doing?
I would hate to speculate on that. It's possible, I guess.
Yeah.
I've seen them in the water. I've seen them underwater.
Okay. Well, I know when my husband said that his friend was freaking out, of course you can imagine, here it's dark and the eyes, and they just found him dead and they're trying to get back. And
hitting something in the water.
Yeah. And so the guy's starting to freak out. He's like, it's a demon. He's going to get us. He's going to get us.
Was the boat moving?
It wouldn't, they couldn't get going. They kept like they were
just staying put.
Yes.
Oh.
Like it, yeah.
Like
and then he
grounded or something.
Yes. And then he said, don't be afraid. And after he screamed out, you son of a bitch, you got him, you're not going to get us, And then he said, don't be afraid. And when he said, don't be afraid, he said they quit hitting whatever it was, and then they were able to move. And that just blew me away. I just thought, okay, you were freaking out. Y'all were probably really moving. Y'all were probably hitting a tree root. I was trying to justify everything.
Yeah, I don't know on that one, Vicki.
Okay. Well, I know we used to
say. I mean, it's possible. Was there a boat motor on it?
No, trolling motor, but the battery was dead. Mm-hmm. Battery was dead.
I mean, could it? I'm thinking it was hooked on something or something.
Yeah,
maybe.
It could have been. It was a terrible night anyway.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they didn't. I don't know if they had got it up out of the water yet, or
I don't know. He never said.
So.
Well, I know that when we lived there, we could see the corner, of the edge of the woods, because we used to live within walking distance of the Cypress Bridge. And at nighttime, I know one night I went to the restroom, and honestly, I heard breathing. I thought my house was haunted. I didn't know what was going on. I never even knew about Bigfoot or anything like that back then. But I could hear this slow, really loud breathing, just, and I thought, what? I ran in the living room and I told my husband. He said, yeah, I've been hearing it too. And of course, he'd been sleeping with a loaded shotgun by the bed, and I didn't know what was going on.
Was there a window in the bathroom?
Yes. They're right over the tub. And then
they're notorious.
Okay. I'd go feed the dogs. I'd make it fine to the dog pen, but I would run like a scalded ape back to the house because I thought something's fixing to grab me.
Oh, man.
You want to be outside at night, that's for sure.
Dark.
So, was it? Yes.
Yeah.
Was it a Bigfoot or was it a werewolf?
Yes, Bigfoot.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. And was that what y'all got the call from the DNR?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what they assumed to be that. But,
okay.
They didn't tell us that's what it was. They said that they had tracks.
Yeah.
That they couldn't identify, and then we showed
Was it close? Was it close to that little Avery Cemetery road where they crossed?
Give me just 1 second. I'm looking at your area right now, actually, or that area.
Because that's where we lived, right on the corner of Avery Cemetery Road and 152.
It was at 152, and it was about 100 yards above the bridge. About 150 yards, but 200 yards above the bridge.
Okay, going
north, it looks like.
Okay, so north would be toward Humboldt?
Humboldt, yep.
Okay, so that would just been on the other side of where we're on the other side of the bridge coming back toward 54, but we're not far from the bridge. Matter of fact, when I was in labor, I walked to that bridge and back, so it wasn't that far from my house.
What you had to do? Walk down there.
They sent me home. They sent me home and told me to walk. So what do? I got out on the highway and I walked. No, my father-in-law told my husband, he stopped on the side of the road talking to us. He says, if you don't want to deliver that baby yourself, you better get her to the hospital. So.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a trip when we lived over there. Yeah. I always wondered about that and then I started researching it, especially the more information that came out in TV shows and movies, I got more fascinated. And then, of course, you can find whatever you want on the internet now.
Yeah.
And then I found Jeff's show, and I'm totally I love the show. I listen to it every day. And he's good at what he does. He does a lot of good for people that I know he's helped my husband because he's listened to his encounter by Jeff, and he has talked to me more in the last month about this than he ever has. It changed him. He was so angry, so just he wouldn't go to the woods, he wouldn't go fishing, it just I'd like to get him back, where we can get back out in nature, but well, he'll get there, maybe.
I think he will.
Yeah.
Might take a little time. it's stressful just finding somebody like that, let alone it being your family.
Yeah, exactly. And it was his dad, and he loved his daddy very much.
Yeah.
So.
I remember that story. It was really, it was sad when I narrated it. It was a tough one. So I think within time, your husband he'll come around, you know. I mean, he's already coming around, so.
Yeah, he is. And I think it's just knowing that there are other people like him, maybe not exactly like him, but have had encounters and that need somebody to talk to and explain it to, because like I said in my letter, you know, the redneck syndrome and the small town syndrome, he didn't want the ridicule, which is what would have happened, you know.
Yeah.
And because he was a businessman, and we depended on the public. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you're about at 15 minutes. So
okay,
what county?
Great talking to you. I appreciate it. Oh, do we
Vicki,
have? Yes.
What area would you like to know about?
I would like to know. There's a friend of mine that lives at Jacks Creek, Tennessee, which is in Chester County. She had, yes, sir. Yes, sir. This last summer, she heard what sounded like an elephant roar and an elephant trumpeting and a lion roaring. And then she's heard lots and lots of gunfire, a lot of aircraft flying low. And it's called Jacks Creek. It's around Highway 22A, I think is right.
Okay, I'm looking for the county. Okay, Chester County. Well.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
No, it's funny. It's the same as the last one, 6 and 6.
Oh, okay.
6 dogmen, 6 werewolves.
Wow. Is there, and I hate to ask this, but what about in our county, Crockett County? Is there still?
Crockett County. Right now there is 8 and 6.
8 and 6. Okay.
8 and 6.
Okay, there's not any around Friendship in Crockett, is it? That's where I live now. I don't ever feel uneasy outside, but you never know.
Friendship and Crockett. Oh, you got 2.
Oh.
Close.
Really?
Really close.
And 2 werewolf or dogmen?
Yeah, werewolves.
Werewolf. Okay. When you say close, what do you mean?
Within a half a mile.
Of each other?
No.
Of me?
Yeah, that crossroad.
At Crossroad?
Yeah, where you gave me.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
They are probably a male and female together.
Okay.
It's probably a mating pair.
Okay.
And that's from the breeding program.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that's nothing to fear at all with being from the program.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about them too much.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. I learned a lot about what you've talked about. So, and I've tried to tell everyone that I know, you know, and educate them and make them to be aware and not to be afraid. So.
Yeah, they're probably they're about a half mile from that crossroad.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you so much, and thank you for your service, and thank you for the jobs that you've done for America that a lot of Americans won't ever know.
Well,
and thank you, Jeff, for what you do.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And, just tell your husband that, to keep listening, and hopefully he finds the strength that he can, pull through this.
I will tell him. Thank you. Y'all have a great night.
You as well.
Thank you, Vicki. Bye now.
All right. Bye.
All right, everybody, our third caller and subscriber, his name is Ron. Ron, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm very well, thank you, sir, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to spend with me and Victor. I'm going to turn you over to Victor so he can answer your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Ron, how are you doing?
Good,
What
good. How are you doing, Victor?
I'm good. What you got for me?
Well, a few years back, in Brant County in Brantford, I pulled into our driveway. It was light snow cover, and I stepped out of the vehicle, and there was a footprint on the ground. And it was like the ideal Bigfoot footprint. And I couldn't believe it because we're not in a area that I know of. So I take a 11 triple E foot and I put it beside the footprint. And it was a good 2 to 3 inches larger than mine and about an inch wider. And I thought my wife and brother-in-law were playing a prank on me. So I said, "Did you make a footprint out there?" No. But the thing is, there was only one footprint. So it kind of baffled me. A little while later, I go up to the top of the driveway to grab my newspaper every morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And it's midwinter. There's nothing around, no grass, no nothing. And I find this pine cone at the top of the driveway. I thought, okay, well, that's kind of odd. So I left an apple the next time. And I was just wondering about any information you have about cryptids in my area.
And you're where now?
I'm sorry?
What area are you in?
It's Brantford, Ontario, Brant County. It's in Canada.
Okay. Let's see.
And there's been reports of they think it's a large cat, but they're not sure it's black. They say people that have seen it said it's a large cat, but I'm not sure.
I'm looking to see what my computer pick up there. Let's see. I know y'all have a lot of Bigfoot around I may not pronounce this right, but I'll spell it Cloquet Valley.
Okay.
In the Superior National Forest. Y'all have tons of Bigfoot
Okay.
through there. I mean, there's in Moose Lake area, there's tons.
North.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, Moose Lake is, I thought that was down south, down on the south end.
Okay.
I
I'll
thought
check that out.
down towards Thunder Bay and
Oh, okay.
where I was thinking it was. I may be wrong on that. I may be thinking about Minnesota. With that, but that
Okay.
it may have
I
been.
know there was a report
No.
of
No,
near
Provincial
Hamilton?
Park, Quudtico, Provincial
Okay.
Park. That's where I'm thinking about up there.
Okay.
There's just tons of it along that area in Minnesota, on the border there. There's
Okay.
tons of it there. That's where I was trying to think of. And
Okay.
there's tons and tons and tons of it there. And we've got some runover that's showing up out of our creek or that's actually in your county up there that I'm picking up. We've got 3 dogmen and 5 werewolves up there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think there was anything up here.
Yeah, there's much. Probably.
Okay.
You probably got Bigfoot and everything else where you're at. If them Dogman and werewolves are there. So,
Okay.
but
Well, thank you very much.
I've seen, you talking about seeing a single footprint like that.
Yeah.
I've seen that in the snow with Bigfoot, and I don't know how. I've seen them do
It was very odd.
You know, I've seen one footprint and me be on the trail of one, and all of a sudden I find one footprint, and then I might go 100 yards, and I'm having to circle because I don't know which direction it went, and I'm circling and getting wider out and wider out, and finally I'll find 3 or 4 footprints, you know, maybe 100 yards from where I found that one. It's going this direction, and then, you know, I get on the trail, and it'll lead me on the trail that's going northeast, and it's like I get on its trail, and then it just vanishes for a while, and it's in the snow, and it shouldn't be able to do that, but it does. So I think they can teleport or something.
Yeah, there must. With the people that have shot at these cryptids before, has anybody mentioned anything with a 50 Beowulf?
That probably
as a gun?
That'd take them down, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty fluid with weapons, and I'm sure 50 Beowulf will take one down. I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all I got. That's thank you very much. Very informative. It was a pleasure talking to the both of you.
Ron, it was great having you on. I got a quick question for you. When that footprint was around, I was just thinking about things. Were there trees around that area to where it could have just maybe jumped up onto a tree or something?
No.
Okay.
It was in the driveway. There was bushes to the one side, like a long row of bushes. Probably 50 to 60 foot frontage, and then in the back is probably, like, the back is wooded with farmland and everything. So they'd probably have free rein back there.
Right.
Yeah.
Deer and small critters, everything back there.
Yeah.
Well, it's just
I just found it odd.
Just another mystery of the cryptid world that we, I've heard of them one track here and there, and it's just strange. The reason why I asked is because maybe it had jumped onto something and was traveling that way, but that is strange.
Yeah, I didn't even check up on the roof or anything. Okay.
That'd be odd.
Well,
heard stuff there.
Yeah, it was great having you tonight. I really appreciate you supporting the channel, and thank you very much.
Oh, thank you guys. You take care.
You have a great evening,
Talk
sir.
to you later.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Our next subscriber call in is Montgomery. Montgomery, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you, Jeff and Victor?
I am doing well. I won't speak for Victor, but I'm sure he's doing all right.
Good.
Thanks for taking some of your time out of your evening to spend with us. And I'm going to turn you over to Victor so you guys can have some time together.
Okay.
Montgomery, what have you got for me tonight?
I have some questions about hunting dogmen.
Okay.
I want to ask you, since you guys are having problems with the dogmen being aggressive towards humans and harassing humans, to control the population, I know this may sound weird, but can't the military engineer some special, like a virus or something that only, makes the dogmen sick? That you guys could shoot at them and they could spread it to kind of control the population?
I guess that would be possible,
Mm-hmm.
but it might also affect the general populace also.
Oh.
So they're calling them in right now at a rate of about 1,100 a week.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, they are. They're wiping it down pretty quick. So as long as they keep coming in and not refusing to, they should have the Dogman populace by July should be under control.
Oh, okay.
They'll still have a long way to go, but as far as the big packs and all that should be way under control by July. But I'm not there anymore, so I'm not in charge anymore. But I'm kind of watching what they're doing, just as an outside view.
Okay.
But I don't have no say on it. So.
Okay. So, and my second question is, well, I just wanted to, because I've been listening to Jeff's channel for about a year now, and people mention that they try shooting these things, that they're very hard to kill. And me and my friends are like, well, if anything gets hit with like a 12 gauge, especially like in the head or something, that would pretty much take them out or severely injure them. Do they have any type of like armor or something, like, I don't know, like some type of bone or muscle underneath their skin that kind of makes them hard to shoot?
No, but you just about have to hit them in the head to disable them.
So the head is like the only place where...
No, you can hit them in the body and kill them, but you have to be a precise marksman to shoot them in the body or shoot them a bunch of times in the body to kill them. Automatic weapon type shooting them in the body.
Okay. So, like a 12 gauge shotgun, that's...
Blast to the body. If you blast them to the body with 12 gauge,
yeah,
it'll make them mad.
It would just make them mad.
Yeah.
So what type of gun could take one of these out?
You can take them out with a hunting rifle if you hit them in the head.
A hunting rifle?
Yeah, any hunting rifle will take them out as long as you hit them in the head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, any hunting rifle.
And my third question is, why are dogmen becoming so aggressive with humans? Like, why are they, like, chasing cars and tapping on people's windows? That's really creepy.
Well, they've always, for some reason, liked to scare people, and we've never figured that out. So the theft on window goes along with that. But now, as far as the aggression towards humans, that wasn't supposed to be part of it. They've been packing up and getting aggressive really for about the last 4 to 5 years is where we've seen it start.
Yeah, because I know a few of my friends, one who happens to be really religious thinks they're the Nephilim. And they're like, they're flesh and blood animals, but he believes, that these creatures are going to be one day attacking humans. So...
They already attack humans, and that's what's so sad, but so does the werewolves and so does the Sasquatch.
And why is that? I just think that's kind
I
of...
think there's bad blood in all of them.
Yeah,
and
like
and
people.
they just yeah. I mean, as good as Sebastian was to me, he killed people.
I know I already had my 3
Oh,
questions,
you've
but
got
I have.
15 minutes. Don't worry about it.
You
You've
got
got
15
plenty of time.
minutes.
Okay, so with Sebastian, I know you guys had to euthanize him. Did you all let him know what was going on? Like, did you get a chance to say goodbye to him?
I
Or-
did.
And
I did. I
you
told
did?
him that I wouldn't be back. And, it was hard. And they gave him something, and he went to sleep. And then they gave him something else that stopped his heart.
Wow. So how did he was intelligent. How did he react to that, knowing that he was going to be killed?
He didn't show no sign of fear. And he just faced it. And
That's interesting. And I was going to say, I was reading some Dogman encounters. People in cities have had sightings of these creatures.
yeah.
So they're actually coming into populated cities. I would think of something like that, because I live near Washington, D.C. Like if something like that was walking down the street, I would just imagine like the National Guard or something being called in to capture it.
No,
So
they don't call the National Guard.
I mean, it would be kind of funny to be walking down Rock Creek Park and see like a werewolf or a dogman walking in the trees. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
There was a sighting in the early 1900s in New York City by Broadway. 2 police officers had taken out a dog man, I believe in like 1908 or somewhere around there.
1908.
That's incredible.
In New York City, right? People were exiting the theaters of Broadway and had stumbled onto the scene. The creature ended up dying, being shot, dying in a sewer gutter on a corner in an alley, like a corner of a road in an alley.
That is insane. That's crazy. How in the world could they manage their way like in a populated area? I know because somebody on Dogman Encounters Radio was from Silver Spring, Maryland, and he had an encounter. And like I said, we have a lot of people living in this area. I mean, I'm sure many people do see these things. It's just that they don't like talking about it. And another thing I wanted to ask you is, why is it, people get ridiculed so much and they don't like talking about things that they see? Like people will be like, oh, well, you're crazy, or that's untrue, or they don't exist.
Well, the ridicule's the biggest thing, because people just give people down it ruins people, because people just ruin people over it, and it's ridiculous that what people just they ruin people because they don't want to believe
Yeah,
what people see.
really.
Yeah, and it's just crazy that somebody don't want to take somebody's word.
Yes.
So,
and
that is bad.
Yeah, that's real bad. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And another question with hunting dogmen. Like you said, they're pretty much all over the planet, especially in the United States.
Yep.
Like, if somebody were to be like walking a dog or they have another animal with them, would that kind of like attract the dogman to the human because they may be stalking the animal?
Depends on how hungry they are. Most of the time, they won't go after an animal if they're with a human unless they're really hungry. And then they, most of the time an animal will protect you or keep them away from you.
Oh.
Yeah.
And another question about hunting dogmen, like people like to go hiking and go camping. What type of gun would you recommend to bring with you if, like if me and a friend were going out in the woods for like protection?
For a woman to carry, I'd carry a 357 Magnum.
That's a good one?
Yeah. That'll kill either a dogman or a werewolf.
To the head, a shot to the head.
Shot to the head.
I would think, because I was listening to another encounter where it's kind of hard shooting him in the head, but if someone were to shoot one like in the stomach or like between the legs, would that at least slow it down so the person has a chance to get away?
That's going to slow it down.
It will slow it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to stop it?
It won't stop.
Slow it down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we got about 30 seconds of 15 minutes.
Real quick, I want to share something with her real quick. 15th Street, this is Washington, D.C.
Yes.
1964. Washington, D.C. 1964. 15th Street and P Street. They took out a dogman. 2 police officers took out a dogman 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
On the street, Washington, D.C.
That's incredible.
Yep. Okay.
All right, thank you.
What county you in?
I'm in Silver Spring, Maryland, in Montgomery County.
Montgomery County. Okay. How many do you think you got in your county?
I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6.
You got 11 dogmen.
Wow.
And 5 werewolves.
Thanks for telling me that. You have a good night.
You too.
You too, Montgomery. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye now.
All right, so just to let everyone know, I did reach out to about 8 other people. Called 8 other people. No one answered. I did let everyone know. 518 area code. So we're gonna try to do this again. I'm gonna reach out again, and hopefully more people will pick up. But I'd like to clarify something, if I could, with you, Victor. When we were talking to Montgomery, she had said, like a 12 gauge shotgun could take one out. And then you said a basic hunting rifle. Can you specify on that? Because a hunting rifle can be a 22 if you're hunting squirrels. So
I'm talking about a centerfire high-powered rifle.
Okay. All right. Because I don't want people going out thinking, hey, I got myself a hunting rifle, and
I would say like a 308 caliber rifle or bigger.
Yep. Yeah, I don't want to have a subscriber going out with a hollow point Super B22 and coming back with 2 arms missing and the gun shoved somewhere else where it shouldn't be.
Yep.
So that would be a sight to see, but that's a different story.
I might pay for that.
Yeah, I definitely would. Let me ask you though, just for my own curiosity, Green tip 556 headshot. Would that take one down? Because we're talking armor piercing.
62 grain.
Yep. Federal.
No, I don't know that it would get through the skull. The skull is so thick on both of them that I don't know if it right through the skull cavity.
So just going too slow.
Well, I just don't know if it penetrates the skull cavity.
Right, right.
If you hit it in the eye or in the nose or in the mouth, where it would go in and bust out the back,
yeah,
you know, or get into the brain area, yeah, I'm sure it would.
You'd always shoot it in the dick.
Yeah, always. But, you know, if you just hit it in the head, you hit it in the head and it glance off.
Yeah, I was wondering, because, you know, with like a pig, with like a hog, you know,
yeah.
I mean, growing up on a farm, we've taken a 22 at point blank range. I mean, we're talking put the barrel right on the hog's head and plop. It drops. You jump in that pen. You've only got a couple of friggin' seconds before it's getting back up.
With the hammer.
Yeah. Well, so that'd probably be it. It'd probably just drop it for a second. It'd get right back up and, you know, tear you a new one. So, but yeah, that was just my question. I just wanted to kind of specify on the hunting rifle caliber too.
Yeah, 308. I'd say you're safe. You knock him down with that.
Yeah.
Kill him easily. And when I said with the pistol, 357 Magnum, you hit him in the head with that, you're gonna either slow it down or kill him.
Now the new pistol, the new one that everyone wants to have, because, you know, I've heard a lot of other cryptid people talking, the 10 millimeter. I think that'd just make it real mad.
You know. Ain't no way I'd have one with a 10 millimeter.
I mean, unless you got it, like you said, in the eye.
Yeah.
Maybe the throat, but you've got to be deadly accurate, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the 357, definitely a go-to. Or, you know, you could always carry a 7-pound Desert Eagle with you.
That's right. That does the job.
Well, it's always been a pleasure having you on. You know, I always look forward to talking to you and just shooting the breeze. So this was good. Really good questions tonight too. So.
Well, yeah, I enjoyed them. I thank you for having me on.
3.5 years ago, on a Saturday much like today, we put Victor on the spot with a Q&A. He had no idea what these questions and answers were going to be. He had no idea, because you guys got calls from us, and he answered them as honestly as he could. And I think that is probably one of the reasons why he is no longer here with us, is because he shared far too much information. He will be missed, and I miss him quite regularly, to be honest with you. I still have his phone number in my phone as the contact. I don't think I'll ever delete it. He is missed. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.